What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one and only Ash Brown, and welcome to the Ash Said It Show. I appreciate you guys for all of your love and support. It makes a huge difference. 1,700 shows later and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this is possible without you guys. I thank you so very much. Today, we are joined by the founder and CEO of RancH2O, the wonderful Amelia. Hey, Amelia.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Ash.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us. So Amelia, what part of the country are you at today?
I am based in Dallas, Texas. I was actually born and raised here, so I live a neighborhood over from where I grew up.
Okay, cool beans. And what type of weather are you guys having this time of year?
I mean, we could have winter in the morning. It's summer right now outside. It's the time of year that you get all four seasons in one day in Texas. But in the evenings, everyone's outside enjoying the weather. And if you're in the shade, it feels great. If you're in the sun, it's way too hot.
Yeah. Sounds very similar to Georgia. Georgia's bipolar as well. You know, it's like, it's summer in the morning, it's fall and autumn in the evening, it's winter at night. Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah, it's hard to, you have to really make sure you have layers before you leave the house, right?
You got to be careful. But yeah, so let's just jump back into it. So Amelia, what led to the creation of RancH2O?
Okay, I love this question because if you'd asked me 10 years ago would I own a liquor-based canned cocktail company, I would have been like, you're crazy. But RancH2O Spirits is a lineup of liquor-based canned cocktails, and so that means we use premium spirits in our drinks. We use tequila, vodka, gin. We're different than a hard seltzer in that we don't have a malt base or fermented sugar. We use the real deal, and it really started a few years ago in early 2019. I don't know if do you know what a ranch water is?
I'm not familiar with a ranch water. That was something new.
Okay, so a ranch water is basically Texas's version of a skinny margarita. It's tequila, Topo Chico, and lime. And legend goes back years and years and years ago. In far west Texas, you used to only be able to get Topo Chico along the border of Texas and Mexico. That's since changed because Coca-Cola bought Topo Chico, and now you can get it probably even in Georgia.
Yeah.
But back then, these ranchers would be working their land all day, and they would finish for the day. They didn't want a super sugary margarita, and they didn't want a beer. So they grab a Topo Chico, take a couple sips of it, and then fill it back up with tequila and squeeze some lime in it. And that is how ranch waters came to be. And my family my mom grew up in far west Texas, and so my family, we've been drinking ranch waters since before I should have been drinking ranch waters. And I just assumed everybody knew what they were. I mean, it's like a staple. I know it. Why would I want a margarita? Because a ranch water is so much better.
Right.
And in early 2019, we started noticing people talking about ranch waters more here in Dallas, and much to my dismay that people are just now discovering them. But my neighbor, I was sitting on the couch one day, and my neighbor sent me a text message and said, "Hey, I want to make this drink called ranch water. Do you have any lime?" And I kind of out loud, my husband was sitting next to me, and I kind of out loud said, "No, I don't have any lime, but I love ranch waters." And my husband kind of absentmindedly said, "Oh, you think there'd be a pre-made ranch water like Bethany Frankel's Skinny Girl Margarita?" And I was like, "Yeah, you think there would be?" So I did a quick Google search, and there wasn't one. And this was back even before White Claw and Truly were a thing. So the market, it was totally different, even just a few years ago. Yeah. And so, there's no pre-made ranch water on the market. And my husband stopped what he was doing, and he turned to me, and he just said, "You're going to do it." And I was like, "Oh, you're so funny, honey." And he was like, "No, honey, you've got the background, you've got the experience, and you've got the mentorship. You're going to make a canned ranch water." And what he was talking about was I after I graduated from Texas A&M University with a finance degree, I went to work for a private equity firm. And while working at that firm, we bought one of the nation's leading co-packers of beverages. So they co-packed for Monster, Red Bull, Mike's Hard Lemonade. They had their own craft brand of beer. It was this amazing company, and that was my primary portfolio company. So I spent a lot of time helping kind of right-size operations for them, and that's really where I fell in love with beverages. Everyone was having a good time. No one was stressed, and here I was in the finance side of things, losing my mind, working 80 hours a week, right? And so it was during that time of working with that company that I fell in love with beverages. I made a lot of really great connections and got to work with some very cool people, and that followed me through my career. I never let go of them. I always checked in with them, and just they became my mentors at that point. And after I left the private equity firm, I went to work for 7-Eleven, which is the nation's leading convenience store chain, and I did mergers and acquisitions for them. So I was traveling the nation. We were in heavy growth mode, and I was traveling, and I became a gas station expert on accident, which is so not sexy. But I learned a lot about merchandising and how do you build a brand that consumers will grab onto quickly. And so kind of that combined with my private equity experience was why my husband said, no, you've got the industry experience and the mentors, you're going to do this. And so I immediately started calling up men I'd worked for in the past and would, hey, I'm going to start this business. Am I crazy? Should I do it? And they all said, yes, you're crazy, but yes, you should do it. And so that is how we really got started. And obviously, from my merchandising side, I knew that not everybody knows what a ranch water is, and I knew I wanted to be bigger than Texas. And so that's why we formulated we have 4 drinks, and we formulated a classic marg because the margarita is the #1 cocktail in the U.S. We formulated a cranberry vodka soda because that's what I drank all through my 20s, and when I looked at the market, there wasn't one on the market. And we formulated, obviously, our ranch water, and then a gin fizz, and we did the gin fizz because we were hearing that, hey, tequila's really hot right now, but we think gin's going to make a comeback. And so I wanted to be on the right side of that comeback. Yes. So that's kind of how we ended up with the 4 drinks we started with, and then it was literally, it's just funny, like, how do you start a beverage company? Like, literally asking Google, how do you start this? Where does one start? And obviously, a ranch water, you have to have a really good tequila. Because if you have a crappy tequila, it's not going to taste good. There's no way to hide a crappy tequila in a ranch water. So my #1 goal was to find a great tequila. Search the nation. My husband and I had probably 20 to 30 tequilas lined up on the island one night, trying all the tequilas. My husband was like,
what's not
right about tequila, And then, so we found the tequila. Then we started working with a beverage formulator. We started with recipes of how we would make drinks in our kitchen. We made them, sent them off to the beverage formulator, and then probably spent 10 months going back and forth on trying to get the beverages just right. And we played with everything from the flavor down to the carbonation levels. And my goal in creating these drinks was, there was a lot of stuff on the market that I did not think was good. And if I went to a party and all they had was a seltzer, I would just drink water. It wasn't worth my time to drink a seltzer. And so I also wanted to create products that my friends wouldn't be embarrassed to know me. That was another major concern was, I want my friends to drink our drinks because they like them, not because they're trying to be kind to us. So I think that's what took us so long, and ultimately got it formulated. Took 10 months. Then I got ready to fundraise because I had self-funded up until that point and was quickly running through all of our life savings. My husband was like, we cannot continue with this. So in January of 2020, I went out and started fundraising so that I could produce the product. And was halfway to my fundraising goal by March 1st. At the time, I was working for another retail convenience store company doing growth strategy. So I'd kind of been doing this on the side. And March 1st, I went in and resigned and said, I've got this other thing going. Halfway to my fundraising goal, and the next day, COVID hit and the markets crashed. Oh, no. And we all went into shelter in place. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And lost a lot of that initial money that I had fundraised because people were scared and didn't know what was going to happen. And so I took a month off from fundraising and then got back out there. And I thought, okay, if this is meant to be, it's going to happen, and I'm going to keep pushing. And so ultimately, we were able to close our fund in July of 2020, oversubscribed. So we raised more money than I set out to raise. We produced our product actually a year ago today. I'd flown out to our co-packer. We produced, and then we were on the market by October 22nd of last year. So we are coming up on our 1-year mark of being on the market. And today we are in 5 states currently. We're in Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Tennessee.
Whoop, whoop. And continuing to grow. Yeah. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a wild, wild ride so far.
I can imagine. I mean, wow. Wow, that's all I can say is a wow. So with all this experience under your belt now, and now, you are a CEO, as they like to call it, a CEO, a Mrs. of it. With all this experience under your belt and everything that you've learned thus far, what advice would you offer to the next generation of young women entrepreneurs?
Oh, I have so much I want to share. I will say that if you are dreaming about something and it's pressing on you, do it. Don't be afraid. I am typically not a risk taker, but I was so lucky to have, my husband saying, no, you're going to do this. Yeah. And having his vote of confidence meant everything to me. And so I did it with all I had. And my husband and I talked the other day, and I was saying, could you imagine if we'd had that conversation and I laughed you off and then never did anything? The market now for what we are called RTD, ready to drink, canned cocktail. The market has exploded, and if we hadn't done this, we'd be kicking ourselves, And so, if my advice would be if you have that urge, do it. I mean, really put a plan in and get it done. Being a woman in a predominantly male-dominated industry is challenging sometimes, but then also it's really great too because I can use it to my advantage. And I don't be afraid. I walk into meetings all the time. I'm the only girl in the room, and the guys all have their negotiating faces on, and I'm just to myself. And who I am. I want to solve problems, and how do we get to where we want to go? And then we leave the meeting, and it's been a great productive meeting. So take the risk, don't be afraid, and don't let small bumps stop you. Is probably my best advice.
I love it. Amelia, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate that. And let everyone know how they can get the product and also to follow you on social media.
Yeah, okay. So if you go to www.RancH2Ospirits.com, you can find out more information about us. We've got a cool button at the top of our website called Find Us. If you click there, you can type in your address, and it will pull up the liquor store closest to you that has us. You can also follow us on social media at RancH2O. And if you have any questions, always shoot the team a message, and they can get back to you. They're great at that. Or if you just like to see what I'm doing in my day-to-day busy life, you can follow me at Mrs. Ranch Water. And we have a lot of fun with that account, too.
I love it. Amelia, much more success to you and the team. I know you guys got some stuff in the back that you're cooking up and mixing up we couldn't really get into today, but I know the next time you come back that we're going to talk about some more stuff. I know you got some stuff in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting ready to do a multi-state expansion, release some new products, and we've got more on the horizon. We're really just getting started.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for all of your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do. You look them square in the face. You tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.